Brady, the Executive Director at the Covation Center, and we're starting a series of interviews with small businesses really to let you know what small businesses are doing and how they've been successful. And of course, we're starting our interview with ones that we know and we know well. I'm here today with Karl Fisher at Alabaster Coffee and Roastery and...
Coffee Roaster and Tea Company.
Coffee Roaster and Tea Company. I say that stumbling over my words. Having known Karl now for at least 5 years and watched this place 5 years old when I first met it and continue to grow. Karl, tell us a bit about how you got into Alabaster Coffee and started this place.
Yeah, I'm Karl. I'm the owner here at Alabaster Coffee. Alabaster is 10 years old, about 10 and a half now. And I'm originally from the area, from Williamsport. I mostly grew up here, went to school here. I'm someone that got into owning a coffee shop and into entrepreneurship kind of by accident. It's not something that I really grew up desiring. It's not something that I went to school for. Coffee had been a hobby for my wife and I. We enjoyed coffee. We enjoyed brewing. I got into roasting. We just kind of started this desire of, hey, wouldn't it be cool someday to maybe have a coffee shop, a place that community could gather. We could just share this, this community being around coffee. It would be a good time, but it's not something that we're doing now. Alabaster really came about because I was vocationally leaving a pastoral role that I was in to help start a new church that I was not going to be employed at. And all of a sudden, I found myself going into a new chapter where I knew I was not going to have a job. And being married with a 6-month-old daughter, that was pretty terrifying. But I knew we were going to stay in the area, knew we were going to stay in Williamsport. We love Williamsport. We believe that this is where we're supposed to be, and we want to help make it a better place in whatever we're doing. And we said, well, maybe coffee is that next thing. We don't see a small independent coffee shop like what we want to do here. There's no one really roasting in the city, so maybe there's space for it. And it was really that kind of exploration that got us to get started.
Well, there's a lot of full disclosures I could put in here, and we'll probably get to 3 or 4 of them. But one piece of full disclosure is that over at the Covation Center, we actually have Alabaster coffee in our coffee maker. We buy it from you, right. And you've set up our equipment so that we can run it effectively because we support you and the value and the product that you have. When we put our small business series together, we did a 6-part series. Don't forget to go look at that on YouTube and click subscribe and all that jazz. We did a 6-part series, and some of the things we talk about early on, if you're looking to start a business, is making sure you've done the work, you've done the analysis, and you're a guy that I know likes to do the analysis. What sort of thoughts or questions did you have when you started looking to buy the existing business and turn it into what you wanted? Mm-hmm. What process did you go through to evaluate that?
All of them.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone that really likes to. I love to research, and I love to play out scenarios. I think some of it is very much a defense mechanism that I don't like to fail. I especially don't like to fail publicly. And so I think through that, I've really grown up. Sometimes just really hyper analyzing my decisions, and it can be both good and bad, and we can probably talk about that later too. But again, we found ourselves saying, all right, we think we might want to start a business. What does that take? Because I don't have any idea. I'm pretty sure it takes money, and I know we really don't have any. I've heard about business plans. I think that's probably something we should do. So figuring that out, I think a strength of mine and my wife's is that we're very relational people. I think that's partially why we do a business like this. And so we also spent a lot of time reaching out to people that were already doing this, and just trying to ask questions and make connections. We've actually made some really, really close friends within the coffee industry around the state, throughout the country, just from those first emails of, hey, this is who we are. This is a crazy idea that we've had. Wondered if you would give us a couple minutes just to, we could ask some questions. And that was really, really helpful. We went from there to, I did as much online research as I could. I tried to find businesses that would post examples of business plans and examples of job descriptions that they had, and if they'd publish what some of their systems looked like. We would look at those. I actually enlisted my dad, who his whole career he had been in higher education administration as a CFO, and so while small business wasn't his exact wheelhouse, he worked a lot in business. So I leaned in and said, Dad, you love me, right? Help me figure out, teach me what a business plan is and show me what a pro forma statement is. Just kind of helped me along through that. And, just working on goals and mission and vision and what we thought those things would be.
Now, some of the words that I've learned from you, and I've learned from the church you helped start, is intentionality and being intentional. And what I'm hearing you say is you approach this with a very intentional structure. I like the fact that you asked questions and you wanted to find out a business plan and how to do those things. In our video, we talk about going from the idea to the analysis and not getting stuck there, but moving into action and taking action and starting the business. So at what point did you finally say, I know enough and it's a go, no go? Let me try this this way.
Yeah.
At what point did you say, it's still a leap of faith, but it's one I can make? Is that a slightly better question?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, once we finally started putting dollars down, I mean, that was a piece that it made it feel real. We were very much people who we said, and trusted kind of along the way. We held a belief that if this was not what we were supposed to do, somewhere along the way, there would be a door that closed for us. And between the two of us, if one of us said, hey, we think it's time to tap out, this is not the right direction. And we never felt that. So we did kind of get it. We got into this. So I sometimes describe it this way. I really didn't know where exactly we were going. I knew what I thought the first couple steps were in the right general direction, but it kind of felt like, getting up for a morning hike and knowing that you need to go north, but it's all foggy. And I could see where we were supposed to start, but I didn't really know much outside of that.
Would it be safe to say, though, that you had some long-term, perhaps hazy goals?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, because I knew, again, I knew that this was, we were going to commit to this being a career, for me. This needed to support my family. We wanted to do something that was going to, as I said, make a difference in the city. I think in terms of a coffee shop, I very much looked for inspiration to places bigger than our city, and that were what I felt were a couple years ahead of us. I didn't want to. It was setting a goal and modeling from someone bigger than where we wanted to start. I didn't want to just start and be like everybody else. I knew that we wanted to not just have a coffee shop, come in and get a cup and sit down, but we wanted to roast. We wanted to have a wholesale program. We wanted to reach nationally, in what we were doing. We wanted to do events and equipment and have a staff, have a team. So there's some of these ideas of growth and who we wanted to be. We wanted to be recognized for who we were and what we were doing. But I didn't necessarily know how to get there.
Now, I appreciate what you're sharing here is that you had these long-range goals, these visions of what you'd like to do. And I'm guessing you knew you needed to be patient, that while you might want to do wholesale and roasting, you couldn't do the wholesale inside year one, maybe inside year two. How did you go about building that mental model that let you know now's the time, now's the time, now's the time?
Yeah, so very much one of those pieces for us was cash flow. So the way that we started our business, we had approached many banks looking for business loans. After we had tried to figure out how to do a business plan, and again, I hate pro forma statements because I remember looking at. I've never done a business before and trying to put down sales goals for years 1, 5, 10. And I was like,
what does 10 years look like now?
Right? Well, and I looked at that and just thinking it was silly. I was like, I don't have any idea. I'm just making up numbers. And again, my dad looked at me and said, "Yep,
that's what we do.
Make it look believable." So at least there was something. But looking at that start, so with the loans, we were not able to obtain any exterior funding for the shop we wanted to do. So that was actually one of the first. Are we really going to do this? And so a big part of our story, which honestly I don't share publicly very often. We didn't know how we were going to pay for this. I remember getting a phone call back from a commercial lender at a bank who said, "We're not going to fund this because this is a hobby. People don't do this as a career." And I was so angry. And I'm glad it wasn't a deflating phone call for me. Like that really made me want it more. I'm also happy to say I'm still in business and he's no longer in that position.
I was about to say, have you talked to that banker since then?
I can't. Doesn't work there anymore.
I guess the other question of, does that banker come in regularly for coffee and you welcome them to your hobby for 10 years?
Right. So we looked and said, well, this has got to be paid for somehow. In the midst of that, we received a family inheritance from the death of a family member. And so we found ourselves in a place of, hey, we've got this money that was unexpected. Again, there are so many things that we could do with this, and so many good things that we could do with this. And we actually again came together as a family and said, well, we have the opportunity to actually do this dream that we've been working on without debt. That sounds like a great thing. And so we decided to do that. And again, I know, so many people start businesses at different, there are different starting lines, and that they have, and that's where we started. And so many of our decisions, especially those first few years, literally came from, do we have the money for it? Because there is no other money.
So you were being cautious, you were being calculating, if you will, in how you're going to spend the money to minimize risk and maximize gain, which I think is an amazing strategy. And I will come back to that phraseology a little bit later. One of the things I like about what you're doing, and I think people need to realize they can do, or what you did, and people need to realize they can do, is not start from scratch. You acquired a business, right? So what came with that business? What were the pros and what were the cons of acquiring a coffee shop that at one point was in the space where the Covation Center currently is?
Yeah. So part of our starting, we knew the type of business that we wanted to be, and we found ourselves. There was a local coffee shop that was up for sale, and one that I had gone to for many years, throughout high school, college. And a piece of it for us was I honestly really didn't want to buy it because it didn't really align with who I wanted us to be. However, it was in a location that I really wanted, and from a community standpoint, I had a feeling where I felt like a horrible person starting a new business right next to where an existing one was going out of business. So we made an offer and ended up purchasing that business. It was in a leased space, so we took over the lease and bought the building, or sorry, not the building, bought the business. And what came with that was, effectively we took over the lease, we bought the name of the business and all the stuff, and pretty immediately we changed the name of the business, we changed the business structure, and we completely renovated the space. So, we bought a lot of things, that came with it.
But you also bought a location where people were used to coming to for coffee,
right?
And you were able to rebrand it. So what I'm getting from this that I kind of like is, there's negatives to it, like you're talking about, but you also were able to leverage some existing things while you were at it. And while you said you didn't necessarily like what their name or who they were, I can't remember how you phrased it a second ago. There were some things you didn't like about it, but you knew going in that those things you could change.
Right.
I like that. Now, how did you come up with the name? I know we've talked about this before, but how did you come up with the name Alabaster?
So Alabaster, and I knew fully we were going to have the tag Coffee Roaster and Tea Company. That was a thing. We wanted folks to be. I wanted our name to be clear about what we were, to communicate that clearly, but I also recognized that it was a mouthful. And I wanted something that could be distilled down to ideally a single word that could just be known. I think honestly,
we don't call you Alabaster. I messed it up on the intro. We don't call you Alabaster Coffee Roaster and Tea Company. We all know you as Alabaster.
Right, Alabaster or Alabaster Coffee. Even that's some of our more national recognition is just Alabaster Coffee. So it was trying to find something. We did have a kind of a national site, so we did a lot of homework on, are there any existing businesses with that name, because we knew of copyright and trademark things that might come down the line. One of the places that I looked to for inspiration within specialty coffee was intelligentsia. If you're into coffee, Intelli. Based out of Chicago and then also in LA, and their full name is Intelligentsia Coffee and Tea, and anybody in coffee just calls them Intelli. So it was looking at something.
They dropped the Gencia,
right?
so we're just going to call you Ala. Nah, we're not going to.
We'll get there.
We're not going to do that.
So we looked at that as inspiration, and then our pieces that got us to Alabaster. We're looking at some coffee history, and then frankly also some church and scriptural history. So we looked at both the movement of coffee historically from Ethiopia and through the African coast into the Middle East, and then into Europe and around the world. Then we also looked at Middle Eastern culture as it would often have small alabaster stone jars and containers that they would use to keep commodities of high value and worth, perfumes, oils. And so we kind of looked at this place as, we are dealing in coffee, technically a commodity, and also trying to have a positive impact and make a difference in our city and any of the places that we would serve. So we kind of looked at this place as kind of one of those jars.
So I like the fact you kind of went now to community, because I really wanted to find a nice, easy way to talk about what's over my shoulder here. You have this amazing, and I never get it right, I'm going to read it, cultivating community through the elevation of coffee culture. How did you arrive at that as I'm going to say your mission? Is it your heart mission for Alabaster here? Alabaster Coffee and Roaster and Tea Company? Yeah,
very, very much so. I mean, I had almost kind of say frankly, us as a family, it's really those first two words. I think cultivating community. We're we believe that we don't live strictly for ourselves and in isolation. We're here to be in community and with each other. And we're lucky enough that we get to use coffee both as the product, but also as the vehicle. Something that I talk to all of our staff about, and it's a big piece in our kind of like new staff training, is that I think you can have a great product at the expense of community and relationship. I also think you can have like great community and relationship at the expense of product and what you're doing, but it doesn't have to be an either or. I really believe that it can be a both and that's really what we strive to do. I think very much of Askinosie chocolate, a small chocolatier in the Midwest that we carry, and I really look up to how they operate and carry their business, and kind of within chocolate. One of their lines is, it's not about the chocolate, but it's about the chocolate. It really is both things, and we really resonate with that as well. We're here to do coffee well, and really want to elevate that and present that as just like something pretty amazing that we can gather around, and also be using that kind of for each other to bring people together, to partner with other folks in other communities, other groups. We can do both of those things together.
I really like what you've shared with us today. The thought of going in and doing the analysis, doing something for your family coming together, and talking about the tapping out. Like if one of us says we got to tap out, we do, but that you're doing it for a greater purpose, whatever that greater purpose happens to be. And I would say as you tie all of these together, all of those create the success that is Alabaster, that you can't really pull that apart. So thank you, Karl, for sharing these creation stories about Alabaster coffee. I appreciate that. Karl, thank you for joining us for this, our inaugural business interview, kicking off this series on talking to small businesses. If any of you have a small business and you'd like us to talk with you about your creation story, how you came up with your business, or the challenges you faced in that first year, please be sure to reach out to us at info@covationcenter.org. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to click subscribe because we want to make sure you get all our videos. And don't forget to click the bell. It turns out if you don't click the bell, they're only going to show you the ones that they think you might be interested in new, and YouTube doesn't know everything. So be sure to click that. Leave comments in the comments section below. Let us know what you liked about this. If you have any questions for Karl or for us, leave those comments there as well, and we look forward to talking with you and to you again soon.